thought that the overarching idea of insurance was haram.
It is different as compared to insurance. It is not a contract of exchange. So the concerns on insurance business model does not appear in the context of the
In terms of the actual business model that is adopted by the Takaful operators in Malaysia, I think the textbook talk about Wakalah and Mudharabah. In practice, though, what is preferred?
Technically, as long as it is a valid Sharia contract and the purpose of the contract matches the spirit of what the product wants to achieve, we can apply any contract in developing Takaful model. So for example, if the company wanted to provide a product with a guaranteed savings element, so then we can use card contract. We cannot use Mudharabah because we cannot guarantee the savings in Mudharabah, but we can use card contract. And if we wanted to provide a non-guaranteed savings element, then we can use Mudharabah or Wakalah. Or if we want to include a portion of charity inside the product, then we can use hibah contract or wakaf contract. So it actually really depends on the features and objective of the product features itself. But as I give you the example just now, it's just some samples. So in practice, whenever a Takaful operator wanted to adopt a new model, meaning a new model that is currently not being used, we actually need to present the model to Bank Negara's Sharia Advisory Council for deliberation and approval, whether the model works and all the technical terms are okay. Then only we can actually adopt it. So all in all, the process of adopting a suitable contract for the model is well managed and properly regulated. So the model itself can vary from today until like 20 years to go, very, very differently. It can look very, very differently.
When you say the model can differ, because you're in product development, when you are developing a product, is step one looking at what type of protection? Is this like mobile vehicle protection? What's the step one? And then how does it trickle down to then, okay, this is the best business model?
I'm working for a family Takaful company. So family Takaful providing life coverage. Okay. So whenever we want to develop a product for a particular customer, so first, before we get to the model, first we need to understand where we want to sell it. Who is the distribution channel of the product? Who is selling the product? And who will be the customer of that distribution channel? What are their needs and how is the sale process going to be? So that will determine whether the product is complicated or simple, or with a lot of benefit or just one or two benefit, or is it and also the price point. So certain distribution channel attracts different price point. So for example, we want to distribute products through agency. So the price point can vary to the higher ups. But for distributing product on online channel, the price point is very, very low. So that attracts, like I mentioned, attracts different customer, different price point, different needs. So once we know that, so for example, for agency product is actually the type of products that we can be very creative and innovative, where we can put a lot of different type of element. First and foremost, because we have an agent to explain how the feature works. That actually helps a lot in terms of us being creative in product development. Whenever it comes to product like a direct or digital product, it has to be simple because customer needs to read and straight away understand what they are paying for and what they are getting. So it cannot have too many complicated features. So the first step is always the distribution channel, and then we come up with the idea of the product, what we want to cover, and then we have to do market research. We have to see what competitors are doing, what others are not doing, and why, and even what other markets are doing, not just Malaysian market, but other markets, what is developing in other markets as well. And then we come to the design and the document development. So this one also includes the pricing. So when it comes in pricing, then we see whether the feature and the pricing, is it suitable for the distribution channel and the target market that we are targeting. Then comes with the product approval. So we need to have the internal management approval, our Syariah committee approval, and then we have to file to Bank Negara. Or in some cases, we have to get Bank Negara's approval before we can actually launch the product. So all in all, it first comes, the first thing I would say is the distribution channel, then only comes with the type of product and how we collaborate it with the model, the suitable model that fits to fulfill the features of the product that we want to design.
Yes, and just for the benefit of the audience, so distribution channel literally meaning how that product is going to be distributed, marketed to the potential clients, isn't it? So, like you said, online or agent which can go to you in person, speak to you about the products. Obviously, your competitors. I don't know. Does the Takaful industry in Malaysia see the conventional insurance industry or their conventional insurance counterparts as competition, or is it mature enough to be in its own like field, so to speak?
I think personally, having been in the industry for quite some time, I see the transition. I have seen the transition. So previously, it was always about Takaful need to provide exactly what the conventional has to provide. But I think it has come to a point now that we understand our market better. The target market itself is different. Okay, it just may go to the same customer providing both insurance and Takaful solution. Yes, definitely that happens. But we ourselves know our customers. We know the Muslim Malay market especially, and Muslim market in general in Malaysia. So we know their socio-economic status and things like that. So we actually design products that help these markets. So it not necessarily have to be exactly as what the conventional have, but more towards we understanding what our customer needs. So providing them with the right solution.
I'm just wondering, sometimes when you're in that product development stage, do you sometimes stop and say, wait a second, the features are now slowly looking like conventional, the mechanisms? You ever have to go back and rejig it?
Yeah, that happens. So for example, that I mentioned earlier, actually the product itself, the basis of the product itself can be exactly like conventional product in essence. And how we do it, we just have to find a suitable Sharia contract that we can apply. However, when we understand our customer better, like I mentioned just now, for example, Muslim in Malaysia. So Muslim Malaysia, we know that when they want to participate in a life cover, it would be beneficial for us, the company, to include feature, let's say, Badal Hajj. Okay. So for example, we actually explain to them how Badal Hajj works in our benefit. How it works is that when the person covered passed away, we already have their details and we will link up to a Badal Hajj provider and pay a certain amount to perform Hajj for the deceased covered person. So that is the Islamic element that I think the Takaful operator are providing, that the insurance do not do that. So in essence, the product, yes, it may look the same, probably price also the same, but these are the additional feature and element that is important to a Muslim and is only provided by Takaful operators.
I'm intrigued now. As a regulator last time, Ayu, when you're looking at these products, when you're screening for their Sharia compliance, you mentioned you were working for the Central Bank of Malaysia, Bank Negara Malaysia. So obviously they're very well ahead in terms of a framework that you actually look at. So what are the main red flags you've seen where you may have seen that a product was actually non-Sharia compliant?
Okay. I think it's a bit too extreme to say that it's non-Sharia compliant. In fact, in my experience, we have not seen a product that has features which totally contradict Sharia. But there have been instances where there is a proposal of a new contract to underlie certain product features being introduced for the first time, and hence it is subjected to quite rigid requirement. They need to have the SAC, the Sharia Advisory Council, that sits in the regulator. They need to get the SAC's approval for the product as well. So it's not just the regulator's product. So they need to present, the companies need to present the usage of the contract for the purpose of the product. And in some scenarios, the explanation of how it's being used is not robust enough. It was questioned, and the provider could not justify how that contract actually fits that product features. So it was deemed as inappropriate and hence not suitable to be used for that product. So I wouldn't say uh, there were red flags in terms of non-Sharia compliance, but rather not suitable for the purpose of that product, and hence it did not get approved. So there are certain requirements or guidance, I would say, for industry to refer to. For example, Bank Negara Malaysia, they have published, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, 14 guidance or policy documents that provide guidance on contracts, how companies, Islamic banks, as well as Takaful operators can make use of these contracts based on all these elements outlined in the policy documents to suit their product offerings. So there have been guidance on that. In terms of governance, per se, of course, we have the corporate governance requirements as well as Sharia governance framework. So in any case, companies should have their own internal Sharia governance, a robust one that would look out for any potential Sharia non-compliance incident. So it's catered at that level with guidance from the regulator. So there's no such red flags that ever got
Mm.
our level. Maybe there is, but nothing too major, I suppose, that got to the regulators.
Those features I'm imagining would be that separate fund, isn't it? That risk fund that has to be, it belongs, the ownership of that fund is basically the participants. And the conventional insurance, from my understanding from our conversation, they wouldn't have that. It's just, I get your premium, that goes into my fund, any excess is my income. Does that mean the operational expenses of Takaful operators are also a little bit higher because they need to maintain these two funds?
Separation of the funds is coded in the law for Malaysia. It is in IFSA. So in terms of management, I would say, I think Azina would be better positioned to elaborate whether it's higher in national or higher in Takaful. But essentially, the services that they provide is somewhat similar. So I do not think that separation of fund is a major factor that differentiate the level of operational cost involved in managing insurance or be it Takaful operations, but rather because of the requirement to separate the funds, and you have that Wakalah fee being paid upfront, a person were to compare two somewhat similar products, one insurance product, another Takaful product, they may see Takaful as being more expensive because they see that once they pay 100 ringgit, for example, 30% is going as fee to the operator. As opposed to insurance, I'm paying 100 ringgit and 100 ringgit is meant for whatever that I need under the coverage, right? So at first cut, one may see Takaful as being more expensive, but that is not essentially the case. The risk is the same, right? And one may forget about the potential surplus that they may get at the end if there is surplus any left in the fund. So it's not an apple to apple comparison for insurance and Takaful.
Jazakallah for that. Now I'm wondering, because Malaysia is so ahead in this industry, and I'm sure Australian counterparts want to learn from it, what is the most popular Takaful product? Or does that even exist? Or is it just there is no most popular Takaful product out there in Malaysia?
For life insurance or family takaful, the most popular type of product that is being sold, not necessarily being participated in, but being sold, is the comprehensive product. So comprehensive product meaning there is life cover covering death, and then there's medical cover like medical card, there's critical illness cover, and there's other types of additional risk that's attached to this one product. So it's like a package, comprehensive package product. So this type of product is easy for a customer to understand. Oh, I pay one, I get a lot. It's easy to sell and easy to understand, and it's likable because it has the protection element as well as some savings and investment element in it. So in all, it fits customers' needs because they don't want to be shopping around for different types of coverage that they need. They just want one thing that they have to pay that covers all that they need.
I wonder if, from your experience, do you see the same statistics that we're seeing in Australia? So in Australia, they're saying that females are basically underserved in the insurance, in the protection industry. And I wonder whether or not this resonates with both of you, and whether we need to also, as a community, be working towards educating Muslimas on getting adequate protection, adequate coverage. It's because you've mentioned life. So I know that usually, not in all situations, but in most situations, the breadwinner is the main breadwinner is the husband. And so he takes on life insurance. But then, of course, we see a rise in single mothers, etc. So is this something that, as a society, as a community, we should actually be pivoting the attention towards?
From my experience, I also have dealt with customers data. I've seen over the years, it has moved. Previously, like you mentioned, be more male than female, but now actually it's more female.
MashaAllah.
And how I think it all tied to how it was being promoted to the females. And like you mentioned, in most family unit, the main breadwinner would be the husband, and probably the wife is also working, or even some are housewives. And because of that, how the agents have been promoting the product is like saying, like, if anything happened to your husband, then what? So it's not easy to get the buy-in from the wives. So that's why you can see actually the rise in participants from the female sector. Then we also see that how other agents are doing, like they call it cross hibah. So hibah means if my husband pass away, his life coverage will be given to the wife, and if the wife pass away, her life coverage will be given to the husband. So they call it cross hibah. So they sell it to both husband and wife. All in all, it actually helps get more and more people protected. So like I mentioned, in Malaysia, we see more and more female are getting the awareness and taking the action, So actually, in terms of the conversation, usually when agents approach a new customer who does not have any protection, probably previously what they have heard is when they approach female, then the female will say, I'll go back and ask my husband, right, to buy anything. But actually now it's the other way around. When they when they talk to the husband, let me talk to my wife. It's different. Yeah, because they know the
MashaAllah.
wife handles better. Handles financially better. So yeah, that the conversation has evolved, I would say.
MashaAllah.
And how female in Malaysia are behaving. I think more and more are have that awareness and straight away taking action. So I think it's positive direction for Malaysian Muslim.
Well, I think that's so encouraging. I guess for us in Australia, I think we're stuck. I think we're like, okay, we want to, but then for most of us delving into Islamic finance, understanding all of the features and all, it can get overwhelming, and then we just stop. And then we just go, okay, never mind. All insurance is haram. I'll just leave it all up to Allah, But this is why, alhamdulillah, I feel like, inshallah, there's a lot of benefit coming out of this conversation and a lot of encouragement. That's a perfect segue into, I think Ayu mentioned to me about discretionary mutual funds in Australia. So, like I mentioned before, we don't actually have a Takaful operator in Australia, but Jazakallah for that, Ayu, you brought my attention to it. So I had a look into discretionary mutual funds, and it looks amazingly similar as Takaful. Mashallah. So I'm looking here at the mutual fund. It ticks so many boxes. The fund it's a not-for-profit organization. That means it says here that surplus funds are kept by the organization for the benefit of its members. And it goes on to say that it is owned by its customer, who are also referred to its members. So again, ownership, mashallah. And then what is really telling, where is it? DMFs are not-for-profit organizations. So surplus capital after fees and claims are paid is retained to benefit the members. So I guess, I mean, I know from my readings, mutual funds, discretionary mutual funds are quite specific. So we have Aussie Farmers Fund, for example. So they serve the farmers because the members are farmers. But let's say I am a farmer. Let's say I am a Muslim farmer. I guess it wouldn't be wrong for me to then look into this particular mutual fund for protection.
Yes,
What do you think, Ayu?
it can serve as an alternative. Going back to the definition of insurance, right? There are certain elements which are deemed as impermissible by Sharia. Compare that under a discretionary mutual setup. Certain things make sense because of the way the DMFs are operationalized. Is it really a contract of exchange? You can argue that, right? Because you are contributing to a fund that belongs to you and you'll get benefit from it, and anything left is yours. It's clearly stated for the DMFs, right? As opposed to insurance product. So the only thing I would say lacking to say that discretionary mutuals are takaful is that Sharia stamped on to ensure that it's invested in a Sharia compliant assets and whatnot, then it's riba free. What else
Yes.
do you need to tick the box to say it's takaful? So I don't know the actual setup of how it's being managed. It's not really disclosed. I don't have information on it. But from the looks of it, it mimics the setup of Takaful.
From your perspective, you were once a regulator, now an academic. Azlina, you're in product development. What are the main challenges facing Takaful today, globally and locally?
I would say the main challenge is, unfortunately, awareness. That is still an issue because otherwise we would have a penetration so high that is you need not worry about the underserved community there because there is none. Awareness is still an issue. In Malaysia, some communities they may be aware of takaful, they may understand the importance of it, but they may not have that additional disposable income to spend on it. That is another concern. So when it comes to list of priorities, takaful may not be the top three. They see the benefit of it, but I don't have spare money to spend for takaful purpose. So I think awareness as well as that financial capacity to participate is the main issue in Malaysia. And also other countries as well, because when I talk to people from different jurisdictions, some they have started to introduce takaful because there are demands for a Sharia compliant alternative. But in terms of promoting takaful further towards the market, it needs to be complemented with financial literacy kind of campaign to increase the awareness of takaful, because some funds they don't even know too much about Islamic finance, but more about takaful, right? So that is still the major challenge in Malaysia as well as in other countries.
I agree with Isabel in terms of the awareness and also affordability factor. And I think a lot of that also happen to be the belief system or the behavior of the customer. So where, when they participate in a product and they don't claim, for example, they see it as I burn my money. Because I keep paying and paying, I don't get nothing back. However, when it comes to takaful, actually the key takeaway is mutually helping one another. So the key point is actually, although something bad did not happen to me and something bad happened to someone else, the fact that I get to help someone else through the contribution that I make, I get the reward for that. I get the hire for that, for helping another person. So in a way, although if the customer did not claim, but others and their family benefited from it, we are getting reward, winning in the akhirat, not just in this dunya. So that mindset has not reached the deeper level of the community yet. I think if we all understand this, then I think the penetration of takaful would increase even more because they know, although I'm not getting whatever I'm paying, I know I'm helping my neighbors.
MashaAllah. That's beautiful. It's as simple as that, isn't it? Islamic finance, however fancy it gets, it boils down to how are we using our dunya for our akhirah, isn't it? Because I know in Australia, the sentiment with home mortgages here, the Islamic home finance, everyone is complaining, why should I go for the Islamic finance solution when it's much more expensive than, the conventional side? But that mindset of thinking long term for generations to come and looking and seeing the halal options grow, inshallah. I guess that's the long term plan. But would you agree that this reluctance is probably also coming from some skepticism about, is Takaful really Sharia compliant, or are they just duplicating it? I know there is a sentiment like that about home finance in Australia going around. Like, how Islamic is it? In Malaysia, do you still battle with that kind of sentiment or no?
There are still some talks about that. It has been since it started. However, I think more and more people are actually taking the time to read more. And I think with the amount of TikToks and tweets or whatever you call it, I mean they read more now and they get all the right information as well. So although the wrong information is getting out there, the right information is also getting out there. So they can read both and compare and make the difference and see to understand better which one is actually more reasonable to them.
Mashallah, yes. And that's why financial literacy, like you said, actually, subhanAllah, we don't really have an excuse to not know nowadays, isn't it? Even TikTok is contributing, mashallah. Jazakallah, I feel so blessed. I'm sure my audience does too, to have two very, very well-spoken, experienced ladies. Alhamdulillah. We want to encourage this proactiveness in our deen. And maybe in the future in Australia, there will come a time that Takaful operators can successfully operate in this regulatory environment. That's a whole different conversation. I know it is difficult. Alhamdulillah. Well, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for your time. I think I realized that my light switched off. I was like, okay, how am I going to edit